I remember being so hot, I had to like peel down to a t-shirt, and then fast forward an hour later, every layer and rain gear, and it was trying to snow on us. This is spring bear hunting at its finest. I just want people to spend more time in the real world. Dude, when I'm out in the mountains, I don't have to hear about the news and the media and the narratives. All the elk I've killed, man, like all of them boil down to grinding it out and staying in it, even when it just sucks and the chips feel like they're down. They're not. I do love fitness, but I also love elk hunting, and this kind of blurs the distinction. And this is my sweet spot. These are my people. Hey guys, this is Dan Staton of ElkShape, and you are listening to the Wild Initiative. Remember, separation is in the preparation.
Put down your latte and pull on your boots.
I would rest at peace for eternity if my legacy was that I made a positive influence on the non-hunting public about what hunters are and what hunting is.
I finally got my buck on our last real day of hunting.
So a pro-hunting organization is voting against hunting. And that says anti-hunting to me.
There was a year straight where I was averaging up to 200 death threats a day.
I hugged it like I just wanted to hug a bear.
It's proven that the average steak in a grocery store touches 50 to 100 hands and machines. And we're putting that into our body.
Hey y'all, Cable Smith, host of the Lone Star Outdoors Show here.
This is Adam Weatherby.
I'm Corey Jacobson with Elk 101.
This is Christy Titus.
Hey folks, this is John Bear.
You're listening to The Wild Initiative.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of The Wild Initiative, brought to you as part of the Waypoint Outdoor Collective. All right, y'all, so hopping on to today's episode, super excited to have the one and only Dan Staton on with me. Dan is the founder of ElkShape, and if y'all don't know what ElkShape is, we'll be getting into that a little bit. It's a really cool program, so I'm excited to talk with Dan. Thanks so much for hopping on the line. I'm glad we finally got to hop on and do this.
Yeah, man, I'm honored to finally get to kick it with you. We've met a year ago, and we haven't really been able to stay in touch. We're both busy, and we're making time to do that today. So I'm honored.
Yeah. Well, you know, we were talking earlier, and that was one of the cool things I think we both really appreciate about podcasting is it's people that so often that you've like met in an expo or an event or just in passing through friends or mutual acquaintances. And you never really get like to know them, find out their story or learn more other than, you know, what bow they carry or what kind of camo they're wearing or, you know, whatever you happen to see right there, you know? And so it's cool being able to dig in with people. That's the best part about this.
Yeah, we pretty much just, and this is probably true for everybody. If you get followed on Instagram, you can kind of keep up with people's highlight reels, but you don't really know what they're going through and their struggles because we all have those. We don't necessarily, some people post about that stuff, but for the most part, a lot of what we see is just highlight reels, and that's cool. I get it. But the podcast angle, that platform's a little dig deeper and learn a little more. And honestly, it's my favorite consumption of media while in driving. And like when I just drove to Bear Camp a couple days ago, threw on a Joe Rogan podcast. I hadn't listened to a Joe Rogan in so long. I couldn't find him on iTunes, and I remembered he got a payday from Shopify, so I had to download Shopify, or not Shopify, but Spotify, and dig in. And it was really, the drive went by so fast, and I learned some things, and it made me think about some things. And I'm super thankful for podcasts. I think they're awesome.
Well, it is a cool platform because, you know, anybody can have a voice, which is not always the best thing, but it allows people to search out what they want. And you know, I joke about that, not being the best thing, but it is an awesome thing because even people that I think are complete jackasses, like that I completely disagree with, they have a platform, they have a voice, and they can find their people, or, you know, their people can find them. And again, you know, I'm very big into like create your own community. Even if it's around something I completely disagree with, you have your own community. You can apply those rules, those morals, whatever your traditions within your community. Let me, you know, build my own community, and we can work in how we do. And, you know, it goes beyond that. But I just think, you know, again, podcasting is one of those cool things to where everyone has that voice, and there's so many. I mean, there's an infinite number of podcasts, like even in the hunting community, not even counting the rest of the outdoors and fishing, just in the hunting community alone. I mean, I could probably within 10 seconds rattle off 20 to 25 podcasts that I'm subscribed to. Like,
Yep.
And I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah, I think this is the only podcast I've agreed to come on this month. We were talking before you hit record, and I promised myself May would be my selfish month. Like, So I'm a huge spring bear hunting kind of guy. Always have been. It's really, it's training grounds, man. Like, I'm spending time in the mountains, testing new gear. And I was just bear hunting for the last 2 days. And I would describe it as I was chipping the rust off of my hunting skills. Like, I had 4 bears, 4 stalks, 2 of them perfection, passed on bears, got right to kill zone. And then the other 2 bears, which of course were bigger bears, just completely screwed it up, made poor decisions, got winded both times. And May is about Dan. I need to get, like, I've done 7 ElkShape camps in the last 9 weeks. Not one of those was in my hometown. So I was on airplane after airplane, hotel after hotel, car rentals, Airbnbs. And I love the camps. I enjoy what I do with those. We can talk about those, but I need some time for me. And so I promised May would be that month, and it's not working out like that so far. I've been working more just because of responsibilities. But the point of all that is I've had probably, and this isn't like a humble brag, this is what it is. I probably have told 6 people yesterday via Instagram DM, I never turned down podcast. I remember when I started mine and I got turned down or snubbed, and it's not a good feeling. And I don't care if you have 100 followers or 100 million followers. I'm going to say yes to your podcast because I feel like it's a good opportunity to help people and you get to know more people. I told 6 different ones yesterday, hit me back up in June. I'm not doing podcast in May. And they all were cool about it. So, and then if they don't hit me back, then that's cool. And if they do, and I'll do them then. And so just try to be selfish this month. And it's a struggle.
Again, we were talking, and I'm feeling that so hard because this was I'm finally living here in Montana. I moved out here and I'm like, I'm a Montana resident in time for bear season. I'm kind of going through some struggles getting my resident license because of this car registration thing. But I'm like, this is my year, man. I can go after spring bear. This is my first time having a spring bear season as a resident somewhere. Bear hunting to me has always been super special too, because it was like one of the original things, thinking about like kind of that manly stuff, like dude stuff. It's like hunting bears, that was just always like what hunting was in my mind. And so it's always been super special. So I was like amped for this bear season. And all of a sudden April's over, bro. Like, whoa, what happened to this whole month? And I'm like, okay, I got about halfway through the month. I'm like, I kind of feel like April's going to be a wash because of some work stuff, but I got to make this month again, selfish for Sam. This is May's for Sam as well. And so I'm also not doing so well at that. We're only, we're already a week in, got three more left or so. We got to do better, man. We got to do better.
I feel that. Yeah. And bear hunting is so cool. I don't want to sell it because I don't want it to become the next shed hunting or the next elk hunting thing, because those 2 things are blown out of proportion right now. They're very hyped up. People are into it, and that's good. Bear hunting for me has never been crowded. I've never had to deal with hunting pressure. It's just, I don't know why. There's people that do it, but it's a weekend warrior type thing, especially out in northern Idaho. It's just not, you can bait. So a lot of people just bait and they're in their little spots with their food for bears, and that they stay there. And I like watching the mountains kind of come back to life. The snow line moves up every time I go back out. New things are growing. Things are greener. A hillside that you could glass for sheds, you can't glass a week later. It's already too green. The spring runoff, the river's rising, the the total crazy weather in the spring. Like you have to wear layers. I was just out, and I remember being so hot I had to like peel down to a t-shirt middle of the day, and then fast forward an hour later, every layer and rain gear, and it was trying to snow on us. And I just smiled because it's like, yep, this is spring bear hunting at its finest. And in 2 days, I mean, 4 bear encounters. I picked up a dandy elk shed, wasn't even looking, picked up a road shed, and then caught some amazing, amazing sunsets. God bless bear hunting. And I don't even care if I get one or not. I just want to get out and get reset. And I told you before we hit record, it's kind of like my give a shit meter just keeps going down and down when I'm in the mountains, as far as like all the stress of life. And then I've been home for a day and a half and my meter's all the way back up. And I just don't think that's good, man.
It's like we have all this stuff coming at us, and I've talked about that a few times, where it's like, you just need to get out, even if it's not for hunting, just, it doesn't always have to be for a reason. Hunting makes it extra special. And I think it winds that meter down even quicker, when you're out doing that. But just getting out and away from things and resetting yourself is the most critical thing in this world. And I don't know, I think sometimes when we've got so much going on, you delay your times out in the woods because you have to make it perfect. Like, it has to count. It's like, okay, I only have so many times I can get out because I'm doing all these camps or this or that or the other. And so if I'm going to go out, it better be for a reason, and I better be fully prepped. And I think we put so much pressure on those times that we don't take advantage of the other times that we could be resetting that meter and refreshing ourselves as people.
Yeah. And it's important in this day and age because you can be consumed with all the distractions, and that's what they are. They're super distractions. At the end of the day, like, what really matters for me is faith and family. Everything else is just distractions. So getting that reset, and then communicating that with your significant other. Like, my wife knows that I'm going to get with her June, July, August. I'm going to be super present all summer long. I've kind of reprioritized my life to figure out how can I keep interested in her things that she's passionate about and show interest and tip the scales so that it's not all about me, because it could easily be about me and hunting, because it has been before I even met her. Like, I had a pretty strong precedent of work and hunt and repeat. And so this time of year, she will get a better version of her husband when he comes home on these little quick bear hunts, because get a little time to think, get some clarity. Bear hunting's not super action packed. If you're doing it proper, spot and stock, you're on a master vantage glassing all day, picking ticks off you left and right, and just trying to find bears that you can actually make a play on. And in between those sightings, a lot of time to think and reflect. And I don't think that gets talked about enough, but that's why I find it super special, because I know that I can reflect and come out the other side with my head on a little straighter, with my priorities a little shuffled to where they make more sense.
Well, I think you bring up a really important point there, and I've kind of half touched on it with other podcasts, but going out into the woods, it's not that you're being selfish necessarily there's some selfish aspect of it because it's something we love and it refreshes us, but it's not just this selfish thing, like taking time just for yourself. But when it brings you back, you have the ability then to be more present, be a better version of you when you're home. Whereas, if you weren't going out and doing this, you'd probably be a lot more high strung, irritable, the time you may be spending more time with your family, but is that time as valuable as the time you spend when you come back refreshed like that? And I think, I don't think people ever think about it that way, calibrating themselves so they're more effective when they're at home, whether that's with work, more present with family, whatever that happens to be.
I know. And if you love the outdoors, go get outdoors. It doesn't have to be hunting related, but it sure beats Netflix or whatever you watch on your device. I just want people to spend more time in the real world and get like, especially like, dude, when I'm out in the mountains, I don't have to hear about the news and the media and the narratives. And I mean, I never thought about vaccines for 4 days. Super great. Like, not that I'm huge into politics anyways, because I'm probably not at all. But I just get annoyed with the same news cycles, and just taking a break from that. So good for people. Go outside, go hike, go find out where the snow line is, go look for sheds, or go do some mushroom hunting and get some morels or whatever your thing is. But just getting outside is so important for our health. I don't think we were designed to be inside four walls with a little 3x5 screen in our pocket, always chirping at us with notifications about stupid shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, just get outside.
Definitely. So how did you get introduced to the outdoors? Like, what was your introduction to all this? What got you started in this world of hunting?
Pretty basics, like our protocol, like standard. Dad took me grouse hunting. We lived out in the country, followed his footsteps in the woods, watched him shoot grouse, begged him to take me deer hunting with him. Cried a few times, got the victory. He took me, loved every second of it. Got hunter safety card when I was 10 in Washington State. Got a rifle, started hunting, shooting grouse, deer. Killed a pretty good buck when I was about, 6th grade, 7th grade. Then completely stopped hunting. We moved into town, got involved with sports, and sports kept me busy year round. Hunting took a back seat. I mean, we didn't even do like your classic weekend hunt once a year, just sports. And graduated high school and was basically contemplating go play baseball at a small no-name community college on the west side of Washington, or stay home, start my job as a personal trainer and get my undergrad. Decided to stay home, got my personal trainer job, going to school full time, and was like, holy crap, I can go hunting again. Dad, do you want to go hunting again? And he's like, dude, yeah. And then and I've told this story before. So the shorter version is like, we went deer hunting. We lived in town, so we didn't have property to hunt. So we just went to public land and we did a scouting trip. Like, we were going to go check out some of my dad's old haunts. And when we were in there, we found elk on public ground, and we didn't know anything about elk hunting. We actually got back to the truck and looked at the regs and found out that elk season was opening the following weekend in Washington, like late October. So we went down to the gas station and bought elk tags. And I think we bought like a Primos cow call bugle tube. It was pre-Terminator days. I don't remember what it was. And a cassette. It came with a cassette. That, of course, we had a cassette player. And we put the tape in the following weekend as we drove to go hunt elk and listen to how to make elk sounds. And all this audio was, of course, like what you were talking about. It was all audio from archery. So, of course, bulls are bugling and you hear these guys, loud bows go off and they shoot and I smoked them. And that right then there, I was like, that planted a seed for archery. I was like, okay, so you're telling me these elk aren't going to be bugling in the next hour, but they do bugle if we actually bow hunt. Noted. Well, that morning I elk hunted for about 15 minutes. We literally hiked in to where we saw the elk. My dad said, why don't you set up right here? I'll go down here and blow on this call. 15 minutes later, a 5x5 bull comes walking by right past me. And I shoot him with a 308. And I didn't even have to look through the scope. I mean, he was just right by me. I shot him. And my dad walks over and he's like, did you just shoot? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, did you get a deer? And I was like, no, I shot a bull. And he was like, anyways, I mean, we ended up loading that bull. We got a 4-wheeler and trailer all close. And then we used come-alongs and all these pulleys to get the elk loaded out whole into the trailer because we didn't know better. And we make it back to the truck and we get this entire bull elk in the back of my dad's truck. And I mean, we didn't know that you quartered them out and broke them down. But long story short, I think I was 20 when I killed my first bull. And I was 21 when I was archery elk hunting for the first time. And that just got the juices flowing. I mean, I had a mentor, an uncle who archery elk hunted. And I put that in quotations because he wasn't any good, but he knew where elk were at. So I just kind of went with him. And I mean, you hear your first bugle and you do your first elk hiking workout where you chase bugles all day. And for me, I was like, I found myself. This is me and my personality, and the rest is history, as they say.
That's wild. You guys, you towed the whole thing out.
Yeah, with come-alongs and chains and pulleys.
Oh man, that is awesome. Yeah, so it's just that easy. Just pick up your first bugle tube on the way to the woods. Listen to old Primo's cassette tape and give it a go. They'll just walk right out in front of you, right?
Exactly.
That's how it works these days.
Yeah,
you can
exactly
still pick up your elk tags at the gas station.
Nope, not anymore.
Oh, geez, man. I can only imagine when it was. I mean, in all fairness, there are some play. I mean, like, you can go to Colorado and hunt over the counter still for the most part, but man, just roll down to the local gas station. Do you remember how much the elk tags cost back then?
So in 2001, I think I bought my first Idaho elk tag as a non-resident. And I think it was like license tag, everything was like 300 and change. And then I think I ran that streak for, I can't remember, somebody fact checkers, I'm sorry, but maybe 5 or 6 years later, they bumped it to 416, which it stayed at forever until just this last year. And then they bumped it up to, I want to say, somewhere between 650 and 750 now. I used to go to Idaho, buy my elk tag at a gas station, kill an elk, get it taken care of, drive off the mountain home, go back to Idaho, buy my second non-resident elk tag at that said gas station, and go kill another bull. And so I've killed, like, the reason why ElkShape probably was so personal for me is because in 2001, I killed a bull in 15 minutes and then picked up a bow and didn't kill an elk till 2006. It was just 4 years of getting my teeth kicked in. And my first bull I killed with a bow was a nice bull, but it was in New Mexico. I still was going to Idaho and getting my teeth kicked in. And I did not kill an Idaho bull with a bow until 2009. So I killed bulls in New Mexico a couple of times, Montana a couple of times, but North Idaho was just, it had my name, it had my number. And 2009, I finally shoot my first bull. It was a 7x7. And like that feeling of delayed gratification is what like triggered the whole ElkShape lifestyle that I sell, which is hard work and delayed gratification and leveraging elk hunting. So I tell you that because, dude, then I hit a streak where probably 11 years straight, I would kill 2 bulls a year, every year in just Idaho alone. And I could literally go buy a tag, kill one, come back to town, buy another tag. I can't even, like, I'm lucky if I even get one elk tag in Idaho now. Like, it's a miracle. Like, I had to log on December 1st of 2020 with everybody else, wait in line and get an elk tag and then feel super fortunate. So it's, dude, things have changed. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, even in the past 4 years that I've been elk hunting, my first hunt was Idaho. And trust me, I know that I know that feeling of Idaho just sticking it to you. But I remember even then, like, yeah, it was a lot busier, but back in 2017, you still had the ability to pretty easily, like, you could pick up an over-the-counter tag a month or two before the season. Like, maybe by the end of the season, they would probably be sold out of over-the-counter tags by the end of the season. But yeah, you could still a month or two before the season go pick up your tag, and then while you were out there hunting, if you wanted to pick up that second non-resident tag, you could definitely still do that. Now, yeah, I mean, you're lucky if, you're waiting in line in December, you're lucky if you can pick one up.
I think in 2019, that's the last year I hunted North Idaho. I haven't been back. And I killed a bull in Wyoming, like on September 3rd, and I headed to Idaho, and I had the rest of the month to hunt North Idaho with 2 tags. And the reason I remember this is because that was the first and only time I bought both of my elk tags for Idaho before the season started. I'd never had to do that before. And sure as shit, all the tags were gone just a couple days after they went on sale. And it's never been the same since then. So 2019 was the last year I had 2 elk tags in my pocket that I purchased, and I did buy them before the season. Now, lucky to even get one. And I don't even hunt North Idaho anymore. It's just because of the wolves and the lack of elk. It's just not what it used to be. And when you know what it used to be, it's just not as much fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I've got it. That's the one thing is once I probably get another elk under my belt, I have to go back though. I have to go back to that same unit and hunt it again and put some real effort in there. Cause I still think it was a good unit. I just had some bad luck with the weather that came in. It pushed the elk way down. Cause I saw a lot of sign, but it was all, a week old or so. And a snowstorm blew in. I think everything just moved down to all the private, but
what year was that?
That was 2017.
I remember that snowstorm because it affected everywhere in the triangle. I call it the triangle: Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. And there were places in Montana where it snowed 1.5 feet, and it did push all the elk down. And it actually, I remember I killed my bull in Idaho in 17, probably the first day that storm broke. And that storm was here for days on end. And if you didn't have the entire month set aside, yeah, that could have landed right in the heart of your time off. You were wasting your time.
Well, it was wild. It was because it was like 60s and 70s for weeks up to that. And I was like, this is going to be great. The weather's going to be perfect. I'm at the perfect elevation. And I think it blew in like the day I was driving out. And we were talking, you'll have to listen through those 2 episodes about that hunt. But yeah, it's just, that'll
what a way to start your first elk hunt is an unprecedented snowstorm like that. I mean, it affected everybody. Where I was hunting Idaho, I think the highest peaks were 6 to 7. So we still had some decent hunting. Like it wasn't snowing at all the tiers of elevation, but man, if any elk were high, they came down and that just sucks. And then the brush was super soaked and it was just a wet September. But I will tell you, that storm broke and I killed my bull like on the 19th or 20th. And then my dad, I called a bull in for him the very next day. He killed. And before that, it had been the most crickety, quiet, there are no elk here type of mentality. And it did finally flip over. But that's elk hunting, man. It all can change in 10 seconds. And that's what you have to keep telling yourself when you're out there is I just have to stay out and I have to buckle down and get those, and just stay positive and not just keep your head down and kicking rocks when you're walking on trails, but like know that there could be an elk around any corner at any given time. It took me a long time to figure that out, but looking back, it's been a lot of days where it's just bad elk hunting and everything changes like that.
See, that's so important to me. And I people are probably sick of me saying this, but I always talk about you don't have to leave the field to give up. You can give up long before you leave the field. And it's those times when your head's down, you're kicking rocks, you're just kind of going through the motions. That's giving up before you actually leave the field. And I think that's almost worse than going back to the truck. Cause you're wasting your time at that point. You're not even getting some relaxation in, but it's always, it can all change in an instant. Like there've been so many times where I've been doing that. I've been kicking rocks and all of a sudden there's like a satellite that I would have been super stoked on, or, just a little bachelor herd, or even even a cow, depending on where I'm at in my season, that I would have just been super stoked to have put an arrow in. But yeah, definitely just always gotta be paying attention, because all of that can change in just an instant. It's wild.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of elk hunting, or really any kind of hunting, is, you have to stay out there, and what you do in the off season can kind of dictate your capacity. And it doesn't just mean fitness capacity. It's a lot of like mental capacity between the ears. I don't like calling it mental toughness. That's not a thing. It's your mental capacity to withstand the negativity of shitty hunting conditions, lots of hunting pressure, wolves howling in every basin, and just you run into hunters at every trailhead, or the elk aren't talking, or whatever you want to put in there. You have to be able to be like, all right, this is I got a crappy hand dealt. What's the best play I can make with these cards? How can I stay in it and just grind? I can promise you, out of the elk, all the elk I've killed, man, like all of them, almost all of them boil down to grinding it out and staying in it, even when it just sucks and the chips feel like they're down. They're not, because you cannot kill an elk from your podcast studio. You have to stay out there and put yourself in a position. And guess what? The second you leave the mountain, you're already like regretting leaving and trying to figure out what I could have done differently. So I always have this, like, I don't know what I would call it, but just like this principle of have no regrets when elk hunting. Like, so if a bull pipes off across the canyon, there's 20 minutes of daylight, there will be a little voice that says, Dan, you have no chance to get over there. By the time you get there, it'll be too dark. And then you're going to have to turn around and hike all the way back out just to get to here. And you still have 5 miles to the truck. Don't do it. Waste of time. And then you have that other voice that's like, Dan, you've been here before. You know that a lot, like the wind is predictable. The thermals are solid. You're in shape. Just go see. Just go see if you can make it happen for yourself. 9 times out of 10, you actually make it there with just enough shooting light and really predictable thermals, and you create a shot opportunity, or you create an encounter that you learn from, or that you successfully pounce on your prey. I can tell you a time when I was in Arizona where, Sam, I still regret to this day. I talked to myself. The bull popped out on the bottom of a canyon. I was glassing at a vantage point. I had 20 minutes of daylight. I knew it was over 1,000 feet down. I knew the wind was predictable, and I talked to myself out going and making a play on that bull, because I knew it'd be a really crappy 1,000-foot hike out, and the chances of me getting there, while I still to this day think I could have made it, the bull was by himself. It was in November. He was a great bull, and I didn't kill a bull on that hunt, and I maybe could have. Still think about this today. So I try to like have no regrets, no regrets when you're elk hunting, man, and just effort. Just put everything you got into every opportunity. And if it doesn't work out, at least you can look back and go, man, I gave her hell. I gave her everything I got.
Well, I think it's if you're in that moment and you ask yourself, it's a good question to ask when you're, again, you hear that bull bugling across the canyon or whatever it happens to be. It's a good question to ask. Say to yourself, okay, if I don't get an elk this year, if I eat this tag this year, am I going to be sitting and thinking about this moment until next September?
Yes. Yes.
If the answer is yes, and let's face it, yeah, the answer is always going to be yes. But if that answer is yes, sack up and go do it. Like, don't allow yourself to sit and think about, ask those what if questions.
And dude, you don't make these decisions at 100%. You know what I mean? Like, you're on day 7 of maybe a 6-day scheduled hunt. You are definitely calorie deficit, probably dehydrated, possibly homesick. Like for me, I'm usually solo, so you have no one to talk it out or keep you lifted up. It's you versus you. you have to make these sack up decisions like you just talked about at maybe 70% of your 100% capacity. Very seductive, very attractive to fold your cards. It's a thing.
So this, kind of what we're talking about here, this is a good time, I think, to talk about ElkShape a little bit, because, I feel like people, they hear ElkShape, they kind of hear about it. It's like, oh yeah, it's just a fitness program, but I feel like it's more than that. You mix in a lot of functional. It's not just about getting strong, but it's about also shooting. It's about those decisions. It's about, that developing that mental capacity. So tell us a little bit about ElkShape, like what it is and kind of what took you from, okay, you got back into hunting. What then inspired you to start ElkShape? Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. So ElkShape is not CrossFit or doing thrusters and pull-ups. Very, very, very little focus on fitness. I'm selling you hard work, straight up. When people, we do ElkShape camps across the country, been doing it for 4 years. And that's the first thing I tell folks is like, welcome to ElkShape camp. I'm here to sell you one thing, and it's just hard work. Like, that's my love for elk hunting, is it's deeply seated in just blue collar work ethic. Sweat equity kills elk. Nothing really else. Especially public land bulls, but any type of bull, they don't want to die. And I just thought that it was cool that I sucked at elk hunting for those 5 years. And every time the season would end, my determination level just kept going higher and higher. And I started making more disciplined decisions in my lifestyle because I wanted to kill a bull. Like, I joke on social media all the time that my only goal in 2021 is to kill a bull. And I started seeing people share that and use that same mantra, but it's kind of true. Obviously, I have lots of goals in 2021, but like, I do want to just kill a bull. And because of that, I can kind of figure out the rest of my life. So ElkShape is a lifestyle. I'm selling you hard work lifestyle where you just leverage elk hunting because it's a gift. There's not a lot of things out there in this world that will like get you excited to jump out of bed and go do push-ups or go on a ruck or go wake up early and cook all your food for the day because you want to show up to the trailhead come September with a purpose for every pound on your body. And you don't want to get divorced because you hunt so much. And so you are purposeful and intentional with your family. So I just was like, man, we can leverage elk hunting to create the best possible version of everybody. And so that's what I've done. ElkShape is just a step-by-step program, how to leverage your passion for elk hunting to create the best possible version of yourself. And it is through hard work and delayed gratification and discipline. And I know that's like almost cliche nowadays, but you just have to kind of live it. And there are people that will go kill elk without being in shape, without shooting their weapon, without doing any e-scouting. And they'll do it once, maybe twice, but I doubt it. And that's cool. That's not for me. I want elk on the menu 365, which means I got to kill an elk every year. And so in order to do that, I figured out this formula of faith, family, fitness, elk hunting, physical fitness. And that's kind of what ElkShape is all. And we cover all those things. Sure, I make workout programs and they're cheap and you can do them from home. That's not what ElkShape is. And I talk about my finances personally on my podcast. And I tell people, hey, Sam, I ain't a money chaser, bro. I'm not. I'm a time chaser. How can I have as much time as possible to do the things I love, which is basically bow hunting, and just try to figure out how people can jump on board and leverage this lifestyle to live their best life. And I just believe that elk hunting is truly a blessing. It's a gift. Don't squander it. So you talk about the ElkShape camps. What tell us kind of what happens if somebody was to sign up for one of your ElkShape camps. Tell us what they can expect. So the very first one I ever did was in
I can't remember. I think it was 4 years ago, but it was at the tail end of that year. And I was like, man, I want to do a camp where I help people crush the elk hunting learning curve. Because it's a steep one. And I could do it in person. They could come to my gym. I owned a gym at the time. We'll do some fitness. We'll head over to the archery shop. I'll look at all their bows. I'll have them tuned and timed, and we'll do third axis, and we'll talk about arrows, and we'll do some shooting under duress drills, and then I'll reach out. I'll have Dirk, my buddy Dirk Durham, will come over. He'll teach him some elk calling tips and tactics. And I was like, oh, I'll call Ryan Lampers. He can come over and we can go over, because Ryan just loves the backcountry, man, and he's a foodie. People don't understand what level of foodie he is. He's like, he's a foodie, and I've hunted with him. He really performs well in the mountains and recovers fast because of his nutrition, straight up. And I'll bring Ryan in. I'll have him do backcountry food. And so, dude, I just posted, like, I think of something on my podcast, like, hey, I'm going to have registration, cap it at 20. Registration goes live Friday at this time. And it sold out like that. And people flew in from all over the country. And I was like, wow, this is a thing. Well, fast forward 4 years now, I since then sold my gym, and I was like, I'm going to do ElkShape full time, because I do love fitness, but I also love elk hunting, and this kind of blurs the distinction. And this is my sweet spot. These are my people. The rest is history, man. So 2022, we're going to do only 4 camps. We did 7 this year, and I didn't like being gone from my family that long, straight up. So bigger camps, we're going to allow 50 people at a camp. Historically, we've allowed 30. We're going to do 50, and I'm going to bring my entire team, not the team that gets broken up, but my entire team is going to go to all these camps. There's going to be 4 of them, and they're going to be 3 days, and they're life-changing. I'm going to show you my card, Sam. I disguise it as an ElkShape elk hunting camp, but it's actually, it's a personal development camp. You're going to come out the other side with everything flipped upside down, and you're going to be on fire, ready to make your life the way you want, the way you would like to see it. And that was the vision, and that's what we actually do now.
You're dangling the elk hunting. That's kind of the bait. You're swinging it in front of people, and once they bite, you set that hook and make them better people.
Absolutely. This last camp we did was in Utah. Arguably one of my most favorite, memorable camps. We had the right mixture of people and facilities and amenities. But I look back at that camp and I'm like, what made that camp so powerful was that, probably 21 out of the 30 had never killed a thing in their life.
Oh, wow.
And by the end of the camp, we have people advertise, what are they going to stop doing? What are they going to start doing? What are they going to modify that they're currently doing? And every person went through their stop, start, modify, and not one person mentioned a thing about elk. And that's when I knew we did a good job, because I had guys that were going to stop playing video games. Yes, grown-ass men playing video games till 2 a.m, barely waking up to go to work the next day, and neglecting his daughter, his wife. He had shitty relationships, and he was selfish, and he was fat and soft and mentally weak, and he couldn't shoot a bow for shit, and he never killed an elk. That guy was crying in front of a group of peers and sharing his heart that he was going to make changes. And come to find out, just found out yesterday, he got rid of all his video games. He got rid of all his excuses. He's spending more time with his wife. He's shooting his bow more. He's got an elk tag. To me, that's worthwhile work. That's what I wanted to do with my life, was to help other people find their best possible version of themselves. And it's dangling the elk hunting carrot. I mean, I tell these guys, I don't care if you ever kill an elk, but I actually do care. I want them to kill an elk. That's kind of my business model, was to help them teach them how to kill elk. But I do want them to like look back at that experience at ElkShape camp and go, that rocked my world. That made some significant impacts. I'm coming out the other side, and I'm going to live a better life. And that's important to me.
See, that's so cool too, that you get to see that follow up, because so often, I've been I've been there, I've seen it, and I've done it, to where you go to something like that and you're like amped, you're around a bunch of like-minded people, or, you get that momentum going and you're stoked, you're going to make all these changes. And then you get home and real life hits, and, you're not surrounded by that energy necessarily anymore. And it's really easy to let that fall by the wayside. And so it's so cool to see that follow up and see when like people actually follow through and keep that momentum going.
We need accountability, Sam.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know about your circle, but mine gets smaller and smaller the older I get. I do not have time in my life for anyone negative.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time for anyone in my life that's not going to challenge me and see through my bullshit, because I have plenty. And I feel like that's how you leave an experience like ElkShape Camp, and you kind of, go through, clean up your friends list like you would on Facebook. You got to clean up your friends list. Well, do that in real life, and just get your circle tight and supportive. I'm sure there's plenty of reasons why you moved to Montana, and I'm pretty sure you run in a pretty tight circle, and look what you're doing with your life.
Mm-hmm. That's something that's really core to me, I've done a lot of that over the past few months, is really tightening up my circle. And it sounds negative, but it's kind of a positive thing, really cutting out some people that don't add value to that. And kind of funny enough, speaking about my people I consider to be part of my circle, you had posted up a picture. I think it was you shooting or instructing or something. And I look at the video or the picture. I'm like, hey, that's my buddy Clint in the background. My good buddy Clint McInnes. He was at your camp. Yeah, I absolutely love him to death, and it's one of those kind of small world things. But yeah, it was just funny seeing. I consider him to be part of the circle, and I don't know if he listens to the podcast or not, but Clint, if you're out there, hey, giving you some love.
How did you get to know him? Because he's actually worth talking about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know him through actually another guy I've had on the podcast that a lot of people are familiar with Ryan Mickler. I'm part of Ryan's mastermind group. And so through that, I met Clint, and Clint and I connected really early on. Like when I kind of first joined and didn't know anybody, we just connected over hunting and shit talking, and
he's pretty good at that. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so it's I've met him through that, and there's definitely, there's like 900 dudes in that thing at this point almost, and so you can't really connect with all of them, but there's always a few that kind of stuck out. And anytime I'd be down at Hunt Expo, or I'm down Utah way, like we've met up a couple of times, especially back when I had my big old beard. We had that in common. But
dude, you're speaking my language. I had Mickler text me today. We've been going back and forth trying to connect. I don't know him. I don't know anything about what he does, but now I've met you, and then I met Clint, and you guys have both been impacted by what he's preaching. Yep. So I'm excited to try to connect with him and figure out what he's all about. I have never listened to his podcast. I've never read his book. I just know that he likes shooting a bow, and so do I. So we're probably automatically friends. But your boy Clint, man, he's the guy that gave me my tattoo when I was in Utah. And I had picked him out. Like, he signed up for camp and reached out early on, and I knew that he was a good tattoo. I looked in and did his work, and I had this tattoo basically lined out for the last 2 years. And it's nothing complicated. It's just an arrow. But I already had an existing tattoo, and I wanted to create an arrow tie into that. Mm-hmm. And he just says, well, dude, do you need a tattoo or anything? Which is an odd question to ask somebody. And I was like, well, actually, I am coming down a day early, and I do want to get this tattoo. I just haven't made time for it. I go into his shop, super nice guy. Dirk Durham's there, and Jeff Bynum, my buddies. And we're literally just, speaking of shit talking, that's all we do to each other. So,
with that crew, I can only, because I know Dirk and Jeff as well, and I can only imagine. Dear Lord,
it's terrible. And so I don't know what Clint thought of us, but Clint didn't he didn't get a word in. He just tattooed, and we just shit talked and made fun of each other for 2 hours. And I didn't even think about it. Clint shows up to our camp Friday, does his thing. I'm here to tell you, by the end of our camp, we give out an award at every camp called Staton of ElkShape camp. And that's just the person that is the spark plug to everything at camp and has the best vibe, energy, attitude, effort, like everything. That was Clint. Clint won Spirit of ElkShape camp. Without Clint at that Utah camp, it would not have been the same. He was so pivotal to getting everybody. And maybe it's because he's part of this mastermind that you guys are, and he just knows, but he was in your face. It was like having another Dan there, but just one with a really good beard. And he was in the camp. He won every challenge we did. He won, like shooting under duress contests and fitness challenges. And he didn't let anyone slack. I'm glad you brought him up because he should listen to this. Clint is an amazing human being, and he blew that camp away. I should have paid him to come to that camp straight up. He was awesome.
Yeah. I am very inspired by him. I don't know if he makes them public or not, but he and his lady on Facebook, it's like once a week. It's like Fridays or something. They do like the Friday, because his Instagram handle is I am Radness, and his wife's is I am Mrs. Radness, or just Mrs. Radness or something. And so they do like once a week, they do Radness talks, which I really think we should bring back the word rad. It needs to be used more, but I digress.
Agreed.
But it's just like him and his wife, they sit down and they just talk about important shit in life. And I need to look. I don't know if it's on his Facebook profile. I don't know if it's public or not, but we're starting to like blow up Clint here. He's going to be like, man, my like viewing numbers have like jumped way up.
And he did it to himself, man. It's just, he's a good egg. And I think that's so cool that you guys have that connection. That means that, yeah, you get it. And I don't know. It's a small world.
Oh yeah. It's really wild. Like even I'm doing a lot of bladesmithing stuff now. I'm like getting into knife making, and even out in it. I think it's just Utah also. It's like, one person in Utah, everyone in Utah to a certain point. And there's a bladesmith down there, and there's like the whole tie-in with Clint there as well. And it's like, it's this whole just weird small world where all of my different, like from the different things I'm into and the different things I experience, like they're all tying together in a cool way. I'm glad that's like how I wanted my life to be. Like I've got all these interests, and it's cool seeing them all tied together. But so we could go on for days about this, but I think I'm not Joe Rogan, and nobody's going to listen to me talk for 3 hours. But so if in all your time, like doing ElkShape and all of this, like if you've learned, a couple things about elk hunting, like if you were to distill like what elk hunting is to you, and like what you would want to share about it with people, what would that be?
That's a great question, because you could take it so many different ways. I feel like we've already kind of hit the personal development side of elk hunting. So straight up tactical side of elk hunting, strategy to actually nuggets that people could actually get away. Maybe they tuned in to actually learn something about elk hunting. Is here's the deal. Elk hunting is hard, and you are signing up to basically be tested every time you go out. And if you're not fully prepared for elk hunting to be a process, you might be let down. So I think the most important thing anyone can do before elk hunting season, whether it be their first, third, or 10th, or like me, I'm going on my 20th, is to clearly define what your expectations are for yourself, for your team, your hunting partner, and define what success looks like for you. And it doesn't always mean a tag punched and elk meat on your back. It depends on where you're at in the curve and the journey. So if you're brand new, like Sam, you've killed one bull for sure in the background there. Is that your only bull, or have you killed a couple?
This is my first bull. I've been hunting for 4 years. Finally nailed this one in Arizona this last year.
Okay.
2020.
So, side note, 4 years. Can you bottle up the feeling that you felt walking up to that bull after 4 years getting your teeth kicked in?
I don't think there's even words for it, man. Like,
exactly. There isn't. And so that, my friend, is the stuff, that is the juice, that is the squeeze, that is the things that make me tick, that feeling. And that is truly delayed gratification. So like someone like you, Sam, okay, you've had success. You've done it. It took you 4 years. Will it take you another 4 years to get your next bull? I probably don't think so. I think you went through the hardest part, learning elk behavior, biology, understanding navigation, terrain features, and really what makes an elk tick. So a lot of what I do to kill an elk is basically understanding what the elk are going to do before they do it. And guess what? Regardless of the state or where we're at, they're pretty predictable. Elk are pretty similar. They have similar interests no matter where they live. They got things that they need, things that they like, things that they're going to do. They have similar verbal language, well, body language. So the biggest thing you can do is just get reps in the field and understand elk. And then you just complement that with clearly defined expectations and goals, define what success means to you, and go from there. I'll be honest, straight shooter, guys. I will not have a successful year if I don't kill an elk. Like, I'm at the point where I need to kill a bull this year to have success in the woods, because I've done it so long. And when I say I'm going on my 20th year elk hunting, bro, this is my 20th season of all of September, not like a 5-day or a 10-day hunt. Those are days. Most people that say they've hunted for 2 years, they probably have 15 to 20 days tops. I have 30 days, and it's just something that's, time is a killer. You need time to do it. And so if you wanted my nugget for elk hunting, it's just to stop before the hunt and understand that if you're new and you got into elk every day of a 7-day hunt, dude, you had a successful hunt. You learned every day, you had encounters, and you just shortened the learning curve, and it's a process. And so I think that's the biggest takeaway for people, is to look at elk hunting as a journey and not just I got to kill something or I suck, because that's not true.
So if folks wanted to find the ElkShape camps, wanted to listen to the podcast, want to just follow along with what you're doing, where all the different places folks can find you?
I'm at all the places. Just people are pretty smart, like ElkShape on IG, YouTube, podcast, website, camp stuff. The 2022 camp stuff doesn't get announced till summer, but like I said, I know where we're going. We're going to PA. We're going to Texas. We're going to the Bow Rack, Wayne Endicott, which is going to be super dope. And then I think we're going back to Utah. So 4 locations, pretty central spots, get some. And yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. I really enjoy talking to people and getting to know them better. And I can tell, Sam, like, you're on the cusp of a breakout season. You know, you're going to get your Montana tag residency, and then I know you love archery and you have 6 weeks to do it. I think you're going to be able to put everything together, and you'll probably be looking for another tag once you punch your first one.
I'll tell you, I've been getting frustrated with and kind of down a little bit about not getting out. And so I've been like losing my mojo and that momentum, and like just talking with you and recording this podcast, like I'm back at it. We're like, shit. I need to get back out. Like I'm kind of like amped up again. Sometimes you just need to have that good conversation to kind of get your engine running again. And so I'm pretty stoked to get back out and go chase some bear this season, and start prepping for elk in September.
Yeah, I feel that. So, well, good luck, man. Bear season's for you. You might live in one of the best bear states out there. Go take advantage, especially where you live. I mean, I don't know if people know exactly where you live, but I do. And you're in a darn good spot. Any direction you want to go.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, I think everybody, I'm out in Belgrade, just outside of Bozeman now. And yeah, pretty much any direction I can look. We'll do that mountain range today and walk out there. And there's going to be big old black bears out there. So I gotta do that. If nothing else, I don't even need to I just need to get out. Yep. Like we were talking. I just need to grab the rifle, throw on the camo. Like it does. I don't have to do all this. It'll help, but I don't have to do all this e-scouting and prep work and find the perfect spot and the perfect. I'm not going to shoot it from here. If I'm walking down a trail with my rifle, I'm a lot more. Who knows what I'll see at that point? But at least I'm out. So I'm amped. I'm reinvigorated. I'm going to do this shit. So
love it.
Awesome. All right, y'all, that'll do it for this episode of The Wild Initiative. Make sure to check out the show notes page at thewildinitiative.com/201. Get links to everything we talked about in today's episode. Big thank you to Dan for hopping on, taking the time out of his May that he has reserved for himself to actually sit down and record the podcast with me. Also, make sure y'all go subscribe to the ElkShape podcast. Check out those ElkShape camps. They are really amazing. Again, they're great for those of you that want to get into elk hunting, but they're just great for everyone that just wants to improve their life in general. But y'all, that will do it for this week. Looking forward to next time. But until then, I hope this podcast inspired you to get involved, get outdoors, and plan your initiative for the wild.
Thank you for listening to The Wild Initiative. Please take a moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes or Stitcher, and head on over to thewildinitiative.com to get show notes, check out the blog, gear discounts, other podcasts from the Wild Initiative family, and more.